Well, hey guys, welcome back to Chasing Giants TV. I'm Terry Peer, and I hope you guys have been enjoying this content we've been putting out recently. You know, we got Ty Miller working on bedding grounds. We got Joe Miles putting mineral out and some trail camera tips. Don's going to have a video here released, I believe, next week with planting fruit trees, setting a new 360 Chasing Giants blind, all kinds of stuff that we're trying to bring you guys as we move forward this spring. Today I wanted to kind of follow up with another video from the cattle pasture video, and this one has more to do with creating food sources. Unfortunately, the wind was blowing so hard, even the microphone coon sock that I have to prevent wind, the audio is just absolutely horrible. Hey everyone, this is Terry. So I'm kind of narrating this from my basement and showing a lot of B-roll, as you can see. So bear with me on that. So last year I went and did a consultation for some really good guys living out of state, but they have a property here in Kentucky. It's about an hour from me. And this property is, believe it or not, it's in really steep ground, but this property lays fairly flat. There's just some rolling topography. It butts back up against some no hunting areas. But they do have some pressure to the sides. And the challenge was, with only access from the south getting to the back, where we had all of this bedding cover. The front half of it was an open ag field. The back half was just this grown up cedar kind of, I wouldn't even call it a hill. It was just a gradual incline to the back of the property. So there was a couple things that we had to do. Number one, we were going to put a road in up the left side, or the west side. And what this allowed us to do is basically burn that property up and get around the back side of a new bedding area. So we really couldn't convert the ag field over to much food plot, but food was the weakest link. So after the crops came out of the ag field, there was just nothing for the deer. So we went in and we picked strategic hunting locations to where I could go back and get into different huge oak trees or put a 360 hunting blind, and then I laid this food plot out in the cedar thicket. And I mean, these were big cedars, big grown up area. The deer weren't using it as much. And then I laid out on each side a very large sanctuary that we went in and did a TSI. Austin Razor came in with an excavator with his excavation company and did all of the work, and it looks phenomenal. So today I'm going to take you around a little bit on this property, show you a little bit of what the goal was and then what the outcome was. This was finished up right before hunting season last year. This whole field was planted in Real World Deadly Dozen, which did great. We got a soil test on this visit, and we'll put some more inputs into the ground with lime and fertilizer, and then build that soil one more year. The other test is going to be browse pressure. We really don't know how many deer we're going to pull into this. So Austin went in and did soil tests. We're going to send those off, and then right in those areas we're going to put utilization cages. And this is really important so I can see the browse pressure on this new, very large food plot to see. The other topic that I want to talk and show you guys is barriers. Now, on a clear cut like this, where we clear everything out and turn it to food, we have all of this material. You have two choices. You can pile it up in the center of the field and burn it, or you can push it to the outside and basically make a perimeter barrier with gaps to where deer come in and out close to where your stands are. So that's what this client and I decided to do on this one. What I find is that I think that people choke these openings in the barriers down too much. In other words, they make them too small to where the deer just basically have a gate. And my philosophy on it is, if, say we have a line cattle fence and the deer are jumping it across a 100-yard area, and they're jumping this woven wire fence to get into pasture or out of woods into an open ag field, I really believe that in that situation you could go out and put a gate in and leave it open, and it will funnel deer through that gate for the most part, especially if it's by a major trail, or you could cut a section of an old fence out if it's an old fence that's not being used anymore. But when you take a landscape and you completely change it and you pile up these barriers or these brush piles to funnel deer, everything in the world as it relates to this deer's habitat has changed. And I don't think they relate very well to being confined and necked it down that much. I think it's a little bit different. I've seen in certain areas where I've gone in near a path and just cut an old barbed wire fence 10 feet wide, and the deer just burn it up. But they're already using and jumping that fence anyway. In the case where we cleared this whole big food plot and put these barriers up, I want to leave those barriers open like 30 yards wide. That way it's wide open. These deer are going to have to explore and learn to navigate and learn how to get in and out of the food as their whole world has changed. Their whole habitat has changed. So I really like to leave these barriers open, and we're going to walk around the property and show you a little bit different scenarios. It's only been here for a short period of time, and there's a tree stand up to the left. There's a rope scrape hanging right in the gap, and then look at this major trail. And these deer are basically coming in from the TSI or the bedding area that we created and hooking right around this point. 18-yard chip shot, bow shot if a deer makes that corner, hits that rope scrape, and goes out into the woods. We're going to walk over to this other area, and this area was actually food before. The previous landowner, through the middle of all of these cedar trees, actually had these little pockets, maybe 10th acre pockets of clover, no access to get in here. The amount of deer that he would have blown out getting in and out of these little pockets to hunt was probably crazy. So because of the layout, some previous food is actually going to be turned back over to bedding. So these fields are going to be let grow up just like that cattle pasture video that I published a couple weeks ago. And we went in and Austin snapped these cedar trees with the excavator and just laid them over. So all of this grass, thorns, briars is going to grow up with down cedar trees laying. We're going to get new cedar regeneration coming back up, which is going to be good. We'll keep them cut down. But right to the west, out this spine, is like this 5 to 6 acre sanctuary in the core of the property that we can hunt all sides of it, but then this wide open funnel right into the food plot where we have a 360 blind setup. Dynamite spot that this is going to be to catch deer coming in and out of bedding, but also being able to hunt the downwind side of it in the morning at all directions. The last thing I want to show you is tree plantings. Tree plantings can be phenomenal for your property. They take a while to get going, just like switchgrass, miscanthus, all the good stuff. But if you get them in and take care of them, when fruit starts dropping, you talk about a magnet or a way to diversify your property over your neighbors. These are all Gingrich trees that were planted just this spring. And as I walk around, you can see some of the apples and pears are already blooming. They're fantastic looking trees. Austin did a good job. He caged them. So this is 48-inch cages with 2 T-posts around it to keep the deer browse. We need to get in here and wrap the trunk so that the varmints don't girdle them, chew the bark at the bottom and break into that cambium layer. That's the only step that we're missing so far on these trees. That's going to be done really soon. But these trees are actually halfway between the 2 entry points into the food plot. So the deer have to pass past all of the tree stands to get out to those. And it'll be clover underneath of this little inset that we're looking at right now. Basically it's just this little cove, if you will, that'll stay in clover, and then we'll get to the point that when we get our soil ready, we can plant a rotation of beans and corn out across this big food plot. So what a great project that we got to work on. I got to do a follow-up visit again here just a couple days ago to see all the work that Austin had done. We had to twist and tweak a couple little stand locations. One of the trees that I picked out after the TSI had no back cover and it was just too exposed. So we had to pick a different tree for that. And I also wanted to drop a tree behind a tree stand in one of our rut funnels so the deer couldn't get behind us. I wanted them coming down through. So some small little tweaks that we made while we were in the area and on the property and getting soil tests. So I hope this gives you guys some tips. If you go in to clear these big food plots or these micro plots out of the woods, you got a couple things to worry with. Number one, what do I do with the debris? Am I going to pile it up and burn it? And that's great. If I'm going to pile it up and use it as barriers, I think it's a fantastic temporary idea. In just a few short years, all of these brush piles that we're looking at now will start to rot. They'll fall and settle down, and the deer will probably start cutting through it. If that's the case and the landowner wants to do it, he might need to replace brush back in it or put a section of diversion fence in, whatever he wants to do and he's comfortable with. But for right now, we want those deer funneling and letting that TSI grow up strategic places to where it's next to where we can hunt in either a great looking tree stand in one of these big oaks or a 360 blind. So thanks for watching Chasing Giants TV. We appreciate the support. We're going to continue to try to bring you some content like this spring. We hope that it helps at least get the imagination going for your properties. I think that seeing some examples like this really helps. And above all, we really want to, in all things we do, glorify Christ. So make sure you're staying tuned to the Chasing Giants podcast, the Mission Whitetail podcast with Joe Miles, and the new coming Chasing Assurance podcast, which is going to be still on this channel. That will start later this summer for those of you who want to learn a little bit more about the Bible and be confident in your faith. My dad, Dr. Terry Peer, and I are going to be doing that, so stay tuned for more information on that. God bless. Stay tuned for the next video. We got a couple coming out every week for the next couple months, so we enjoy it. We appreciate you guys. Take care.